with Vuvu and a guest, and our guest today happens to be none other than Dudu Busani-Dube, author of the Hlomu Series. Welcome to the channel, Dudu.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself so that those in the audience who don't know who you are can just get a sense of who you are before I share all the wonderful things you've done?
Okay. So, well, it's not a lot. I never know how to like describe
Answer this
myself.
question.
Yeah. So I'm Dudu Busani-Dube. I'm a writer, originally from Durban. I lived in Joburg almost half my life because I was working there. I'm a former journalist. I'm in my 40s. Yeah. Well, I'm turning
I think you
42.
don't know how. I was about to say, I don't think you know how to count. I don't think you're in your 40s. Okay.
Yeah. I've been writing since 2014, so it's going to be 10 years next year. I have how many books? 7?
7 years.
Yeah. Set up
Zulu
my
wedding. I always forget Zulu wedding because I don't have it.
yeah.
But
I
yes,
also forget it sometimes, but then when I remember.
yes.
So I have 7, and then some anthologies here and then some short
Mm-hmm.
stories.
Mm.
So basically that's just what I do. I
Mm-hmm.
write, and
Mm-hmm.
that's my career. That's what I'm focused on.
Okay, and we've loved reading your books. So, just in case anyone on here does not know the books that you have, I'm just gonna go in the order of the series because this is like one of these things are my friends, eh? These ones, this series. So I have Hlomu the Wife, which is the first book in the series, and as you can see, eh, I was triggered,
Ew,
very
but
triggered. I've got Zandile, the Resolute, which is book 2. Book 3 is Naledi, His Love. Book 4 is Ikunga. 5 is Mess. Mess. I don't need to say anything else. And the
I
last
know.
one. And the last one is the end, right? And it has been such a pleasure having gone through like the development of you as an author while reading these books, as well as going through the character development, right? So I had read your book the first time while it was still doing the rounds as an illegal substance in the world, where it came from the from the blog into the PDF. So that's when I first read it. And funny enough, I'm
Okay.
also a journalist, and we were reading it in the newsroom, so it was a bunch of us having read it. But I think it didn't come to me at the right time, right? So when I first read it, I thought it was entertaining enough. Don't get me wrong, I was hooked on the story, but I don't think that it stayed with me, and mainly because electronic is not my favorite way to read. So I
Oh,
didn't like the fact that I'd have to go through on a computer, mind you. It was not even a tablet or a phone. I was reading it on a computer screen. Ne? So I was like, hey, this book. Then 2020 came along, and one of my friends was on some, hi, let's read the series. Unontli, Nontli. She was working at a bookshop at the time. So then
yeah.
let's read it together. I promise you, it does get better. It's a great story. And I was like, you know what? I'm willing. I'm willing to. And as you can see, Bukamuso just popped in and she was on some. She saw our plans on Instagram. And she was on some. I'm also joining in. So the one thing I want to say about that is that that's how the three of us became friends, right? It was over the books. Otherwise, we only knew each other online. And because we started this WhatsApp group over the books, is how we started getting to know each other. So I know for a lot of women, especially Black women in South Africa, your books have been an easy conversation to have between each other about very serious issues. How do you feel about the fact that you've opened those doors to talk about serious societal issues through creating fiction?
Mm. Okay, so it's hot in Durban. It's very hot. So
Yeah.
um so look from the beginning, obviously I didn't know that especially the first book, Hlomu the Wife, because I didn't
Mm,
really have plans to write 6
mm-hmm,
books, you know,
mm,
in a few years. But
mm-hmm,
when it started, I didn't have a plan, so I didn't know it was going to get this big. And
mm,
it was kind of like surprising in a way, but then it was also motivating, and
mm,
I was overwhelmed more than
mm,
anything.
mm, mm,
So,
mm,
but in this journey, like the one thing that has always been like one of the greatest things for me was how I was able to just gather women, like a lot of women in one place, and just have them. But even when I do my sessions where I'm
Mm,
meeting guys and
mm,
to be in that space that is so feminine, it's women, they
mm, mm,
we laugh, we scream, we shout, we do all those things
mm,
that
mm,
I've always loved that about the space, like about the Hlomu series space,
mm, mm,
and the friendships that have come, the book clubs that have been started, the hype whenever I release a book, and you find
mm,
just wanting to get together and talk, and
mm, mm,
I think that is just one of the very amazing things, and just to get
mm.
in that space where they sort of for a while forget about the things that they're going through and the problems, and just be obsessed with this
A
thing.
good story, because ultimately that's what it is, a good story. South Africans are bred on drama, so you served us what we needed. One minute we were here, the next minute we were on the floor crying, the next minute we want to throw the whole book out, because it was a roller coaster ride of of notes. And I like that. I kept saying to the girls that I was reading it with that for me, your lasting recipe had been the fact that emotionally you could take me through a roller coaster ride. And I think that that's a mark of a great story, right? If you can do that, if you can make a person feel, right, even feel things on aspects of life that have nothing to do with them, that they can't literally say, oh, this happened to me, so this is why I'm reacting in this way, or this is why I'm triggered. None of it has ever happened to you, but you are so sold on these characters that what they go through, you like, not my people, not like this, I need to fight till the end. And I think that was very phenomenal, and I think it's very well done, and especially because you've got so many characters in your book.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to set them apart? Because it's a lot of people that you have to remember that, oh, Vuvu is like this, Dudu is like this other person's like this, and still make the story flow. How did you keep that going?
You know what? For me, there was nothing technical about it, so I
Mm.
can't really point at this and say, I had a chart where I would write. So this is
Yes. I actually assumed you would have, because I'm like, there's no way. The children,
oh
the grandchildren, the grandmothers, I'm like, there is no way.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not. It would be that organized. It's just
Mm.
not me. So I don't do that. I
Mm.
had to explain um to anyone. I think, and unless that somebody's a writer,
Mm.
um I had to explain because it happened. Like I know them. I always tell people I
Mm.
know them. I know Mkhela, I know Kawe, I know Kosana, I know Hlomu and Zandile. I know all of them. So when I switched to writing about Zandile,
Mm.
you feel, hey, I sort of
Mm.
kind of
Mm. Mm.
and all of it. But what I do is that for every book, there's a focus on if
Mm.
I'm write like three stories
Mm.
simultaneously, I choose three people to
Mm.
be the,
Okay, I hear.
if you can call
Mm.
that. But then it's
Mm.
important to always have for nobody to
Mm.
forgotten in the story. So they're always gonna linger in
Mm.
I don't know, it's just something I've mastered along the way.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's, I mean, everybody has something that they can do. I think that's my thing.
And you've done it actually very well. And it brings me to the next question, which is, how did these, it's a bunch of crazy people, okay? Let's leave the Zulu people, the Zulu family, crazy, but they attracted more crazy into their lives. How did these characters come to you? Like, how did they introduce themselves to you? And how did you know that this is something that you wanted to tell, even though
Um,
you didn't know where it would go? How did you know that it's something that should have been consumed by somebody else?
I think well, I have I live in my head. I live in my head.
Okay.
So I have these people. I still live with them. But for me, I wrote something that I would want to read. People that
Mhm,
I would be interested
mhm,
in, and
mhm,
they turned out to be crazy or dark or all of that. But I think after after Hlomu, everything else just flowed. It just
Okay.
came naturally. And I think also it's also because, oh, why is it that? Okay, so it's also because I when I was writing Uzandile, I was not starting from scratch. I was with Hlomu, it took,
Mm,
and I focused more, I think, but I also enjoyed it more. It could be heavy
mm,
sometimes.
mm,
Um, so by the time I got to the end of Hlomu, everybody was there. I knew
mm,
everyone,
mhm, mm,
what they were saying, what situation,
mm,
and
mm,
so it's I think when I went into Zandile and Naledi and everything, that's where I was now trying to bring in like social issues,
mm,
um,
mm,
flow with the story.
mhm.
So man, yeah, it's I think I could still write 10 more books in the series, and I think that I could still add more characters, like 40 now. I could still add more, and they would be even more crazy, I think.
And listen, the reason why I'm looking like this, I'm like, I'm waiting for that disclaimer because you always say it these days that, but I'm done with the story. And I'm glad you didn't say it. I'm glad you didn't say it. It gives us a little bit of hope.
What
Let me just pop.
I recently, I did say recently that, yeah, you know what, I can't let them go.
Yeah, I
So
know.
they still, yeah.
Neither can we. Neither can we. So I hope they haunt you until we are also satiated. It can't just be about you being done. We are not done, also. So I'm just gonna pop into the comments for a little bit so that we don't lose the people that are watching as we chat. So Bugamoso, aka Ompile, said, made it here despite load shedding and choppy network. So good to see you, ladies. Hello, hello. Hi,
Hello,
Bugamoso.
hello.
Lindy says, good evening. It's so good to join this live chat. I have all these books and finished 6 of them. I am still struggling to finish the end. I don't know why. I know why. It's because of the title. No one wanted to let the story go. Even me, as I was reading, I was like, okay, maybe she's going to pull a jokes. It's not the end, it's the start of the end. We are still going to be ending in the next 4 books' time, you know?
Wait,
ML
I have
says hi from
people.
London.
Oh, hey, ML. Hi. Hello, hello from South Africa. So they they have the end. They bought it, and it's just sitting there because if they read it, that's it. It's the
No,
end.
God was Dudu.
Oh,
Of all the titles you could come up with, Uhleli, okay, you gave us the wife, you gave us resolute, Nalet. Then here you want us to say no more arguments. It's finished. It's the end. Ah, come on.
end of something. It's the end of something.
Okay, as long as it's not the end of the whole thing, but it's the end of something, we will go with that. ML says, I read the books after binging the ShowMax series. Hlomu is my fave. Oh, that's great. Njabulo says, Lindy, take your time with the end. The grief that hit me when I finished it was intense. And it goes back to what we're saying, right? It's not just grieving the development of the characters and what happens, it's grieving the fact that can't tell me it's over. Like why?
Well, that's the
Why?
plan. That was the plan, but the story just went.
So you are always out here to break our hearts. So that's your story. You want us to be heartbroken by the story and the fact that the story is now at an end. Spora says hi. That's my older sister. I got her onto the books as well. I was like, so I think she's more obsessed than I am. Like, I'm like, okay, I didn't think it could happen, but listen, she sold. She was sold. Pile says we do say we obsess over the men, we obsess over the drama, we forget everything we are going through and focus on the emotional turmoil and characters that the characters go through. And she's absolutely spot on with that.
Yeah.
Pokazi Makukula says, I'm obsessed with your work, Dudu, sending love from Eswatini. Oh, hi. Love to
Hello.
see it. Fellow author Jane is waving. Jane Kiza, I was chatting to her last week actually. She's also got a series out. She's based here in South Africa. Don't know where your work is, Jane. I only have the first one, but this is the first book in her series, The Journals
Yes.
of He. So she's saying hi. Sporo
Uh,
says I got the end within weeks of release, but I can't read it. Yeah, I remember. She got us. Imagine it's on the internet. You can order it, but she got us to buy it for her here because she's based back home. and then get us to post it. I was like, what's the use? It doesn't. So do you want this book to exchange? Like, we must touch it first before you touch it, because you can also order it. Like, what's the problem? So she definitely has not read it. Sorry?
Yeah.
The ebooks as well, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people have this issue where they don't want to start because it's gonna end.
I had to know. I was like, the first day I got it, I was like, clear my schedule. Let's go in. Let's find out what's going on. Ayanda says, hi, ladies. I have my own end with every Zulu brother. After reading the last book, I decided I'll just make up my own end. I love it. Because there were things that happened in the last book, right? That Nami, I'm like, if Dudu is serious and she's not giving us another story after this, then Nami, I've got my own conclusions. I'm with you, Ayana. Now I've created my own ending because there's no way.
Yeah. She was one of the first. She used to sell my books in Mpumalanga.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
I love that. Okay. I love that. So the other thing about you that I don't think people talk about as much, right? As much as we have been happy for the stories, etc., is that you actually are a self-published author. And I think that for a self-published author in South Africa with a story of this nature, you've actually achieved quite a lot, right? In terms of how you got people who were otherwise not picking up books since they left school to pick up a book and actually enjoy it. And that's why I love fiction, right? Is the fact that you don't feel like now I must remember that this used to be this country, and that is the fact that you can get out of your real space, right? And read something that can entertain as well as educate you at the same time. So just talk to us a little bit more about the journey of being both author and self-publisher of your own work.
It is. I mean, that's the most difficult part. Well, the writing is it ends. The fun ends when you finish writing. When it goes to the business side of things, it's just absolutely frustrating, especially if you self-published. And it was like that even more for me because when I started, self-publishing was just not a thing. It was not advisable, and nobody took it seriously. And I couldn't even sell my books in bookstores. They were just not having it. And so, I'm a fighter. So yeah, it's like, let me just keep pushing whatever platforms are there. And it has gotten better. And even the whole self-publishing space has gotten better now. It's kind of for people that are coming after me. But still, it's still very, very difficult. I still get frustrated by things, especially because there's this chain from writer to a distributor to a bookstore. The invoicing, they trying to get your money. People there's a lot, and I'm not your typical. I'm a creative. Like, I don't like publishing
admin. Yeah.
I think I've done it to maybe the best of my abilities, but it's not something I enjoy, and it's not something I want to do forever. So the business part of things, there's just a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Even if there's as many books as me, there are always going to be those problems there. So when somebody comes to me and say, "Oh, I'm writing a book, I want to self-publish it," and I always say to them, why don't you start by trying to get published? Because this is the first you can learn about the whole industry, they work along the way. But now, when you're starting, I want to try to get published so that you don't have to do work that you don't know anything about, because it's a lot.
I can imagine you've done very well, and it's quite intriguing. I can only imagine that as a person who is a creative, right, you give birth to the story, you're attached to the story. I'm sure that it was difficult for you to go through the editing process, the criticism, especially for book number 1, right? The criticism, people telling you what the market wants, and you knowing what the story it is that you actually want to give out. And like you're saying, all of those other challenges of actually distributing the book. So you've done very, very well. Like it's beautiful to see. Back to the books.
Thank you.
Ne? Me and my friends have been guessing throughout since book number 1. What it is that you
covered. Now I'm saying you have the original. We don't have the original.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've been guessing since Hlomu ukuthi what is it that, and you must tell us, Dudu, we don't want you to vurvai and tell us clever answers. What is it that Dudu has in common with Hlomu? Because there's no way that Hlomu is just a figment of the imagination. We refuse. We feel like there has to be something there that connects you and Hlomu to some degrees. I don't know if you married into a family where all the brothers loved you, or I don't know if you married into your husband is a what. Tell us who and what is Hlomu. Tell us.
No, okay. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Also, I've never dated a taxi driver. I don't know any taxi driver. I just, but it's a story. Well, with Hlomu, there's a lot of things that I kind of based on, myself, or like the career type of thing and where she's from, and maybe even what she looks like, because she was just like a simple girl who, So, it is those. Otherwise, and we are totally different people. So when Hlomu first came out, and I was meeting with people, you know how Hlomu, as much as she's sort of and not very calm, but she gets angry, she gets, she has that personality, and she has these things that she says. And when people met me, they would expect something like that. But I'm just a very underwhelming person. I'm very reserved. And
not true, but okay.
But I'm very reserved. I'm not loud, all of that. So people would expect that, and they'd be shocked at how just not Hlomu.
Okay, so if it's not you, who is it?
It's a fictional character. I think I thought people, because now I've created so many.
You can tell us. You can tell us the truth.
No. Why is it just Hlomu? Why is it the other women?
Because she's the first one we met, so we're like, okay, definitely, like, okay.
I've never gone through all those things that she.
No. So it doesn't have to be you. You know what I found? Like you're saying that there will always be hints of something autobiographical in your first novel that I found with like debuts, right? So you've pointed at them. You're like, okay, it's where she's from. It's what she did for a career, etc. Right? But sometimes authors do inject a bit more of themselves in the character, which is why I wanted to uncover what is there more. Yes, we get it, the journalism back home, whatever, but is there especially with this little connection?
In some instances there was, and then there were also the places where I would our beliefs are different, but because she is who she is and she's not me, I would let her just be herself and believe that. I don't know, man. I think I don't have multiple personality disorder or anything like that. Yeah, but she lives here. I get her. I understand her. And when I'm writing, I'm her. I'm writing.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. And the thing is, this brings us to what I'm trying to highlight also with your kind of characters, right? So having read all of the books, I will definitely be jumping between the characters in our chat, right? So if you hop onto the Zulu brothers, immediately they are the story. I feel like the Zulu brothers are the story. I have no doubt. Yes, the wives, the kids, everything, but they are the story. Yeah. And my biggest fascination has always been how you managed to give so much heart to a group of men that can so often show up as monsters. I have had to check my own moral compass so much while reading the series. What did it take for you to get that right? To show us the monsters as well as the men that love their wives, they love their kids, they would go to the ends of the earth to make sure that their family is getting the very best that they can. So that duality for me often doesn't work, but it works very well for them.
I think because there's that bad side of them, which obviously was based on I don't know men like that. I don't except for men I've seen through my work, because I used to write bad men. So I don't really know a lot of them personally, but I do know a lot of men who are men, but they're also gentle. I've met them, and I think I do pay attention to men like that, to men who can feel, and they see you as a person, not a or something they want to end up shagging or something like that. But my stories are very much based on people I know, people people who've met, maybe people pay attention, but they left something with you. So I wanted them to be like that, but also that was very much based on their past and where they came from, which the point was that where things that have like unhealed childhood trauma, something like that, which is always the case with men, that they live with these things, them into what they become, and not just men, like humans in general. Also, I wasn't just going to create monsters who they were going to be human as well. So I gave them that. I think also because I always say that I have a very soft spot for Umkhele, the character, and a lot of people like get mad at him, but they just can't hate him. Even people who say they hate him, they really do.
That is true. That is true.
So he and I don't try to justify his actions or apologize, but I just put him out there the way he is, and then people know this bad side of him, but they can also see the side of him and decide what to do with him. I know a lot of people feel bad about liking, they feel liking him, but I mean that's the whole point. That's how people are. Love them, no matter how they are.
That is true. You've done a very good job of, because I feel like even with human beings, it's something that we don't talk too much about, but even within us, innate within us, as that duality, right? We can't all be just good or just bad. There is that mixture of that duality within every human being. And I think that it's more pronounced, obviously, because you could write it in a fictional manner, right? But like I'm saying, my fascination was these people that seem to be heartless are actually full of so much heart when you actually look at them in a different lens. And for me, the lens that matters is definitely how they view their family and how they show up for their family. And you've done that very well. And family is such a big theme in your books, actually, because even with the wives, we get to know their families as well. Why did you feel like you needed to showcase, especially like Black families, right? Because as we know, Naledi is not Zulu. So you've showcased different cultures of Black family life. Why did you feel like that was something that was necessary for the story?
I think, well, it was because I was going to write about brothers and family growing. Obviously it was going to be a family thing, but I really did want to write something about a Black family that is not that or people just love each other. They have problems. I come from a very loving family, a very big family. But that story is not my family. So I sort of understand how the Zulu family is something that I experienced. But I did want to write a story about, like Black people just loving each other, just being there for just a family that's broken, where it's not really about suffering. That they're bad stories, but they're not suffering. I didn't bring in all the social problems, like somebody must have AIDS and die, and the whole story is
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this black guy there. I wasn't going the brother's homophobic to him, because that is what this among everyone in his sexuality is okay with it. Yeah, I wanted to write about a black family that has its struggles, but they love each other. You know, I think that's one of the things that my readers like about the whole story. That
And it's so
loyalty.
true. It's also true to life, right? Because it doesn't matter what black families, especially having maybe noticed the ones within your immediate family or close friends families, right, in South Africa, it really does not matter if they fight, they hate each other today, whatever, but that sense of loyalty is something that is inescapable, right? Because it is I don't know where we get it from, but we know that when it comes to our family, that's where the buck stops,
It is.
and
I think,
it comes through very well. Sorry.
yeah, I think we are raised like that, especially because we sort of grow up with your cousins or like your siblings. You
Yes.
know your aunts or your father's cousins and your mother's cousins. I think the big family has always been a thing in the black.
True. Okay, let's look through some of the other comments and then we'll get into another conversation with you just now. So Ampile is saying, Batung Sporo, I also had to know Shem, but I wish we could restart the series all over again. And you know what? I believe in rereading stuff, right? And the purpose of rereading is that I think if you read a good story the first time around, you're really in awe of this story is so good. I think the second and third reread is you confirming that, and you also picking up things that you couldn't have picked up the first time around. It's like when they say to you, you've got on a tour, right? You're going on a tour in a city that you'll never visit again. What you pick up is not the same thing that somebody who lives in that city has picked up, if you get what I'm trying to say, right? So these books have been so precious to so many people that I do think that most of them are probably tattered. People have gone back so that they're not tourists while reading the books, that they've made sure that they live there and they know Mkhele. Probably they know Mkhele more than you know Mkhele. You think you know Mkhele, but the people that have reread these books know Mkhele better than you.
Yeah, listen, not even just the characters, even the story. So when somebody like gives a review or says something, and I'm like, well, that is not what I was trying to say, but it makes sense. What they're saying makes sense. It actually like sound like said. And this is always so amazing for me, and how people just understand the characters in their own way. And I get shocked that it's not what I thought or what I was doing.
I love that though.
Yes,
I love that the story was good enough for people to experience it being who they are. And I think that's important with consuming literature, is that it's not prescriptive. You're not telling us that we must hate, like you were saying, we don't, I don't even think anybody hates anyone in any of your stories, even though, like you're saying, Kale has his dark sides and whatever, but no one can bring themselves to say, I hate him. He's a villain. I don't want to see him on any page. There's none of that. Actually, I feel like he gets a lot of the empathy more than anything, even though he's like the biggest monster. He still gets the biggest heart from people, right? People always feel more for him than any of the other brothers.
I think even with me that's the case, because sometimes I'm writing like he's gonna do this, and I change my mind. I'm like, yo, I can't do that to him. Like he's just been the bad person.
Yeah.
I think that's how attached I am to these characters.
Yeah, I can hear you. Kuleza says, hi Vuvu, hi do you would you ever consider doing a masterclass on the business of book writing?
The business, I don't know, does she mean like business literally or just
So I think it was when we were talking about publishing and having written your own book, criticize, like the whole, I suppose it's business. Since she put it in inverted commas, I suppose she means both.
okay.
Right?
So the business side of it, I would never, because the business, like just I think I can tell people what to do when they want to self-publish, but I can't do a whole lesson about, this is you talk to this one, you do that, and it's because it's something that I'm not passionate about. I'm not passionate about publishing. I just do it because I have. So I wouldn't want to sort of give some people information on something that I'm just not loving. But writing itself, yes, I actually want to. That. I actually want to do like workshops on fiction writing, especially because my thing is I really really want young people to write. Like I said, I'm in my 40s, and I'd really love to read about.
I'm always gonna laugh at you with this 40s story, but okay.
With which
you're not 40. But okay, she's in her 40s, guys.
I'd really love to hear stories from Matsu. No, I don't think they like being called Matsu 2000. The Gen Zs, the Gen Z. Gen Z. I'd really love for teenagers to start writing, for people in their 20s, to start writing about now, writing the language that they speak now, these things, these words that we do not understand.
You see, when you were writing about the Zulu ancestors, Lapo, we would be reading about the underground gang. When you didn't tell us, that's what they called.
Yeah. So it's like, because I also feel like when I was writing Hlomu, I was like in my early 30s, like 32 or something, I don't know. And she was 22. So I wrote in the voice of a 22-year-old at that time. I think at that time I could, but today I could never be able to write from the voice of somebody who is 22 or maybe even 30, So,
but you know what? That's actually a good thing, I think, for a series where we've followed the characters, because one of my observations with the end is how the wives have matured. Right. And I loved, even in their relationship with their husbands, even in how they relate with each other. Right. And there is a type of maturity I feel that comes with age. So if they were treating each other the same way that they were treating each other, let's say in Zandile or in Naledi, I would be very confused. But you can sense their maturity. And I suppose it is what you're saying, that it also goes with the fact that you've also grown up. So therefore, how they show up to you is not going to be the same way they showed up when you first met them.
Yeah, it's different. I don't think I could still relate to Hlomu when she met me, So I think even I sound very old. I sound in my 40s in the last 3 months.
I've never come across a person who can't wait to be 40. You are not 40. I can't.
So there to this business
the business of writing.
Yeah. So I it's something that I want to do. I want to get to write. To write different things, not your things that I've been writing about, although it's toxic as they grow and all of that. Just to write other things, not this boy meets girl, and I feel like yeah, there needs to be something new that just takes.
And I'm in favor of any generation writing our stories. I hear what you're trying to say, in the sense that I also, if I'm looking for young South African writers, they're very few and far between. Usually they are around, I'm not 40. I'm not going to say I'm in my 40s. I'm not in my 40s. But they're around my age towards your age, right? And I wonder if, like you are saying, your Gen Zs don't have stories that because they're experiencing life definitely differently to how we experience life. So they have to have new stories, and stories that we probably could never imagine, even if we wanted to, right? And I like the fact that you don't want to be disingenuous in what it is that you can offer of yourself. And I think people can pick up on those kind of things, right? You must be genuine, because if you are just doing it to get an extra buck, people will feel it, right? They'll feel like, okay, this person really does not actually care.
Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like as an author, you become a brand on your own. So you don't want to do that to yourself. And I'm glad that you've said, this is what I love. This I'm doing as a means to an end, but what I love is the other thing. And I would gladly pour from that well because it's something that I love.
Yes,
I like
yes,
that. Sorry?
No, I'm saying that's true. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. So Daisy, we have already said her name is actually JD Kiza. She's also an author. We spoke to her last week on the Lit Author Lives. She's also an indie author, and she says that I feel like the admin of getting the book out there is one of the things that puts indie authors off. It takes a lot out of us, and I can't imagine, right? Because you have to approach all these giant spaces, right, that already have relationships with established publishers who know established authors, who know how that process should be going. And who are you? I'm sure when you were trying to sell Hlomu, they were like, and then when who are you?
Yeah.
Like, why should you be on our shelves?
Yeah, it took a year actually, a year. I was
Wow.
using other platforms, obviously, and it's okay. But I think their issue was because my books were selling, but it was just like, are we taking self-published writers? So what does it mean for the business as a whole? What does it mean for the traditional publishing space? What does it? We take this one, are we gonna have to take all of them?
The next one, yeah.
And all of that. But at the end of the day, business is business. You know, I was reading a lot of books. They're running a business. In the end, they did take the books, but it's just it's very because there are some books that they do not take. You know, and some things, some of the factors that determine it whether your book is actually selling at all. You know, do you have a readership? You know, is it good? Because at the end of the day, it's making the retailers money. They only take them to make them money. Like I said, it's it's a lot even profit wise, money wise, because you sell, if you take a book to a store and they sell it for 250, store will take its money. They want distributors, the distributor will take their money, and you are left with what you are left with. So excuse me. So it's and what she's just said, that is why I always advise people to try the traditional way first and learn or get their name learn, be in the publishing space, learn about the publishing business, and then go on their own when they with the readership, they've put their name out there.
Last year I met you for the first time, and for me I feel like Papela in the inboxes, so I didn't feel like I was meeting you for the first time. But during the festival
but I saw it, I was like, Vuvu.
Yes, actually you recognized me, and I was like, it's you. I felt like I'd known you forever. And in that festival you were talking about how you went about building a community around your books, and I found that that was such a different approach. I don't know of any author who has done what you did, right? Touring the country, bringing people together over this. Can you talk a bit about that? Because I think that from there, you build such a strong loyalty to who you are as an author that people who've known you since you started doing that, right? They don't blink twice. When you're saying, I have got this book out, we don't blink twice. And mind you, I do want to say to you, we've been crying about, these books are so expensive, but because we've gotten a sense of who you are and what you have put into this, right? And the fact that you've used it to bind people, you kind of forget the cost of the book. If you hear what I'm trying to say, right? It's one of those that now you feel like your sister, okay, I'll say your older sister because you keep saying you're 40. Your older sister has this book, has this book out, and it doesn't matter what it is. You want to rush to the shops because you want to see what new things she's come up with. So talk us through why you felt that creating a community was something that was important for you.
Okay. Well, before I go there, let me tell you what that has done for me. I do not I know people are always asking me for the next book, but I do not release a book until I take my work very seriously. I take my readers seriously. I respect them and what I give them. So I do not, even if it takes me 4 years to release a book, yeah, with the fourth one, I take my time and I do my best, and I release a book when I'm sure that it is exactly how I want it to be. So that is what my readers being so loyal to me has done for me. I'm not gonna give them just anything. I'm not gonna release it because I know they're going to buy it. And yeah, that's who I am. But look, why did I answer that first? Like I've forgotten the structure of the actual question.
So the question was around why you felt like you had to do the tours that you did to bring people around this book, as in personally yourself being present in that.
Well, I had to, and you know what, at that time, I think people who met me like maybe about 2017 or so met like a totally improved, a different, a very improved, because I could actually speak to people. I could look and sound social. I could be social, but before that, I was very, very antisocial and very reserved. But I did not choice. I was like, okay, so this thing is big, because it was big the next day. I put it out on the, I don't remember if it was the 4th or something, and the next day it was big. It was big. It was just big, and so I understood that, and the crazy thing about it is that people are interested in the book, but they're also interested in me. You know, but we also want to see you. We're going to ask you a question. We want to talk to you. We want to do this, but and also because I was using social media a lot, so social media makes you very accessible, and I was using it to promote the book. So people had access to me. So it just became something that I was used to, just interacting, and it yeah, and the tour just sort of came when I felt like I was comfortable in with my people. I always say it's my people. I was comfortable, and I wanted to see them. I wanted to sit down with them, and I wanted to all these things that they say, all the feedback they. I wanted to hang out with, when I wanted to laugh when they say all this about the characters, and I did it for a long time. I got tired somewhere. I'm gonna just relax and wait, and then I went back to it. So it's yeah, I still I like doing it. I still like meeting, but when I can feel that I'm exhausted now, I withdraw and
try
so
again.
yeah.
And I think what I love from what you've said is that because you got to know your people, right? You got a sense of you own them, they own you, in the sense that you guys hold space for each other, and you ended up respecting them enough to know that, you know what, if I'm gonna give them anything, it has to be my best, right? And I think that that's always a gamble with an author, right? You might give us your best and we might hate it, but I love the fact that you feel that either way, even if it lands on their laps and they absolutely hate it, at least I have given them my best, right? And I think that's very, very important. And it also ties into, obviously, we're gonna make mention of we were crazy about ShowMax having finally, because on my first reading of the book, though, I was like, this needs to be on TV. What on earth is this? Like, we need to see this, right? And for me, it's not so much because there's been talk around how the show has evolved and how the story has evolved in the show as compared to the books. And I like the fact that it does say it's based on, it's not saying it's giving us a duplicate of what it is that you did, because there are some differences there. But what fascinated me the most, we can talk about the show, but what fascinated me the most is how this characteristic of you building community even extended to that. I feel like you built lasting relationships with the cast, right? And what I want to understand from you, how did it feel for you to see your babies that were in pages coming to life in those people that you have now made lifelong relationships with?
Yes, yes. I love them. They're my favorite people. It's look, I liked them from the start. Obviously I met them before that whole thing went on TV.
Yes. Were you
Them
part of the casting? Were you
no,
part of? Okay, 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 okay.
I wasn't. I think I went to the auditions like for 2 days, but it was
Okay,
not. I was just there,
okay.
so I was part of the casting.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I was scared. I didn't know them. I didn't know any of them, and I did see them when I was shown, and I was like, "Yo, I don't know this person," but I don't really know a lot of actors. I think now I know a lot of actors.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I didn't know people on TV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and then I got to meet them in person, and yeah, I got it. I got it when I met them in person. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like my relationships with them now stretch beyond the fact that they're
Mm-hmm.
characters, so they're people I know. They're no longer like the people on TV for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's look, I'm very proud of them because this is not an easy thing. And when it started, because I knew exactly what was going to happen, like especially with now, I knew exactly what was going to happen, and
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that eventually people are going to warm up to them. But I knew
Mm-hmm.
easy they maybe going to get hurt, and they can feel like oh they don't like
No,
me.
we were angry. First few episodes. I'm sorry. Me and my friends watched the episode. I think the first episode at least 5 times before we moved on. We're like, huh? Where?
No, but
How? But I hear you though, and I can give it to Stained Glass that they did say based on. They did not say to us, "We are creating your Hlomu or your Hlomu series for you." It's based
well,
on these characters.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like yeah, well, I was not part of that, but like
Mm.
so I was talking about the cast when I was
Mm.
saying I like them, and I did say
Yes.
to no people are not gonna immediately like you, but you must know that it's not
Mm.
would they go. I mean, they could have gotten. I don't know Denzel Washington and people Washington and people
Because
that
we
still said,
wanted
oh
our bag-eyed
yeah,
brothers. We wanted
yeah.
them to look exactly like each other. I
Which,
hear you though. It was difficult. Mm.
so yeah.
Mm. And like I'm saying, I like the fact that you were able to extend that part of yourself, even with this opportunity that you didn't know how it would work out, how it would end, and you still kept those people. Because I can imagine you creating somebody on paper, right? Literally creating somebody on paper, and then you find somebody who says, "Okay, I'm gonna personify this person," like the original Mkele. Because I fell off with the what's this with the TV series, right? But the original Mkele, I was like, why do I believe him? I believe that he might actually be. Initially, I was like, aye, this is not how I'm clearly. Then eventually, I was like, now I can't read Hlomu without thinking about. I don't even know what his real name is, without thinking about him though. So I'm like,
Yeah,
definitely, it's him. It's him. That's who you were writing from the beginning.
yeah. I worried about that because especially for me, you know,
Mm,
not the readers. With the readers, some of them have said, "Oh, we see them," and others have said, "No, we've
mm,
gotten the people that we had
mm,
in our head before there were
mm,
faces."
mm,
But for me, I think that is why I stopped writing a little
mm-hmm,
bit at that because actually the end was supposed to be it was almost finished and I could have
mm.
actually released it while
No,
the
okay. Mm-hmm,
so I was like at that while all the hype was going on I was like okay let me just stop let me stop writing and
mm,
just and eventually just detach myself from the
mm,
the show thingy
mm-hmm,
and so that I back to my people as I know them as I see them because it's sort of been
mm,
a problem. So then I was able to go back to um, you know the book characters as they are, not
mm,
trying to
mm.
associate with who they are in the TV.
And I actually commend you for that, because I did pick that up in the end, because I was thinking to myself, because I didn't know when you started it, obviously, because it's your work. I don't know when you started the end, but I was saying it's so great to see that you were able to separate the two, right? The TV characters to the, because for us who've been on this journey with you throughout the decade, right? I think that we would have felt very smited if you had suddenly modeled our Kawe against Kawe and the feathers there in ShowMax. So I love the fact that you kept them. You kept them for us, even though there was that other version of them in an alternate universe on screen that was not the same as on the paper. I like that you stayed true to that and weren't influenced by the other one. Which of these books was your most difficult to write? Of the 6 books?
Most difficult? Okay, in the first 3, because I feel like there were 2 different eras. Like when I wrote Hlomu Series,
Naledi, yeah.
With Konga mess and the end. I felt like I was like in 2 different writing eras. So like first 3, yeah. So in the first 3, it was actually, I wouldn't say Hlomu was difficult. Hlomu was the first of everything. I was creating, right? But there was Zandi I wanted to make her very cold. I wanted to, I think I did it to some extent, to make it that. Also, because the story is so difficult and so dark and so, it was difficult, not in the writing manner, but just the emotionally, it was. So, so with the Konga, I felt like as I was writing it, it felt like I would like transcend into I don't know, into places that I did not know. So, and also because the narration is different. It's like it's the and I had not written a book in third person before, so I took my time with it. I really wanted to perfect it, and I wanted to tell it the way I wanted to tell it. So
I love that you're saying that, because that is my favorite of the. Okay, obviously, you know, I would not have said Mess is my favorite, but my favorite book in the series by far is Ikunga. And like, as you're saying this, I'm like, I'm agreeing with you, because the first thing that I did after reading the first chapter, I was like, oh my goodness, she has grown so much. So when you talk about the eras, right, I felt it in this one. I felt it in the language that you were using. I felt it in how you went into the stories that you were telling. And I still didn't feel like it was separate from the other stories, but I really felt like this was a new turn in not just the story, but in you as a writer. I absolutely love this. This is my favorite one of the lot, just so you know. The end is also a very close second. It's a very close second because of other reasons. We'll chat about it just now, but I absolutely loved Ikunga.
Okay.
I agree with him.
It's also very close to my heart. It's I worked really hard on it.
And you know what, for me, I feel like the story you're telling, in as much as you might say you don't have a process that we would hope you have a process so that we can say, this thing is duplicatable, but talent is talent, right? Because for me, I feel like if you could have all of these people, so I think the fascination with me with Ikunga is also you've already given them character, you've given them reasons for doing the things that they do, etc. But now you're also giving them history. So I feel like the reason why I love this is that it made them even more real to me as a person who was consuming them. So by the time I went into Mess, I felt like, no, I know these people better because I know their past, I know their present, and I can kind of see where things might go. I might not know if they'll go that way, but I can see what the future might hold. So I love that you could do that and capture that in that book. I'm just going to go through a few more comments, 2 more questions for you, and then we're going to wrap it up, right? So Yonela says, love, love, love you guys. Thank you for dropping in, Yonela. And Spora says, I have a soft spot from Kele. She has a soft spot from Kele in the book and the original and the second Mkele in the series as well. I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. But Mkele is the hill she's willing to die on, that one. Bogamusa says, I absolutely loved that you showed the different cultures. Naledi will always be my fave, as I also related to her family background a bit. The Zulu family love one another through it all. And that's what we were discussing. I love how you made that come through in the books.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yanela says, I love what Dudu did with the series of the book. She showed us a different side of the group of men, Nyani. They are so true to their tradition and they are really soft when it comes to their families. And that's the thing, right? We often want, I keep saying that representation is such a weird thing because people assume that when I say representation, I want to see a chubby girl in a South African story. But really, sometimes it is those things that we want to see our culture on paper. We want to see that people take pride in practicing our African culture without being, oh, just because you do that, you can't wear a weave, you can't be in heels, you can't be. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I feel like you managed to show maybe a millennial person, right, who's on some South African, who's on some, this is my village life, this is my village traditions, this is where I came from, right? But just because I'm in the city does not mean that I'm separate from that part of who I am. And you did that very well.
Yeah. So like just what you've just said about representation and somebody saying we wanted to in a story. So the other day I was saying that I'd like to have a workshop or a masterclass about character development because a bland character can really just kill a story. So because you can have a chubby girl in a story, and but the story cannot be that she's chubby. You know, she needs to have a personality. She needs to have her own mind. She needs to have all of that. But I've seen some writings where that whatever she represents, a big girl, tall girl, or that becomes her story. Like her life revolves around that's her identity. That I'm a chubby girl. So when I wake up, be chubby. I'm wearing this because I'm chubby. I'm going to do this.
And by the time you're on page 50, we're tired of hearing what you look like there. We get it. We got it. Yeah.
Let's just see you and not what you look like.
Okay, before I continue with the rest of the comments, I just want to go back because for me, like we were saying at the beginning of our chat about the end, right? For me, it really doesn't feel like the end, right? And I suppose it's because I absolutely love what you did with Naledi's character in the end. By the time that the book was finished, I was like, there is absolutely no way. I need more. Like, what do you mean that we are not done? Loved what you did with Hlomu's daughter as well. I was like, definitely not it. Obviously, I my heart broke for Siseko, right? But I feel like in combination with all of these developments between Hlomu's daughter, Naledi, etc., I was like, okay, there's something that's here that's making sense. And I feel like as much as I might be able to feel like I can piece it together for myself so that I can sleep better at night, it's really not what you would have put on paper. And I want that story. I want those three. I need to understand, Guti, what is going on there? What's cooking oil? Want to know. We want to know.
But you don't know, I never give you the story you want. But you say,
yeah. That's why I'm saying, Guti, even the story that I think that I might know is not this, but I still want your story because these are not my people. They are my people because I've fallen in love with the books, but they didn't come to me, So we want to know.
Yeah, but I really going forward, I really like to. I feel like the dark part which showed in Ikonga and Mess, where their history and the ancestors are involved and they sort of ruling their lives. That was the end of that part, So I felt like that I've told that story. It's done, and now. And now I just, like I want to write like a nice romantic. I don't
but
even
then
know.
Look, you can't say it was Ikunga and Mess because the end also has like fafa of that stuff there. It's there.
was in the end. So I'd really like to write something that's just gonna be like, no,
But
and
I've been
has,
seeing snippets of your stuff, right? You are working on something else, right?
yeah,
That is not Zulu related. I've seen
yeah,
snippets of it on Instagram because I think that's
mhm,
where I see most of your stuff. So
yeah.
it's something totally different that you're working on. Do
I,
you want to talk to us a bit about that? As much as you can talk to us about it, obviously, because I don't know how fresh or how where you are in the process.
yeah. So, well, I'm always writing. I have things on my PC that
Mm-hmm.
are just there. That I
Mm-hmm.
think all of them, only two are finished manuscripts. They've just been sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
I write and just and don't finish and leave. Start and
Mm-hmm.
that's another. So what I'm doing, novellas. Novellas are the
Mm-hmm.
100 pages or so, like
Mm-hmm.
30,000, 20,000 words. So I've done those. I've been writing those, and
Of fresh new characters, not these characters. It's not
different
about them.
stories, nothing to
Okay.
do
Mm-hmm.
with the Zulu
Mm-hmm.
family. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a few of those. I did post on Instagram like the titles
Mm-hmm.
or sometime during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing those. I'm going to. There was one that I published on Amazon, maybe like three.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing stuff like that. Well, not a story
Mm-hmm.
like that, but those short books like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to obviously publish them on ebook. But I said
Okay.
to myself, I'm cleaning my PC. I'm getting rid
Mm-hmm.
of things so that I can start new ones.
And they probably nag at you as well, right? Because creating something and you know that you've created it for consumption can't just sit there forever. I'm sure it's when you go to bed, you're like, oh, that book I started in 2002. Like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
load shedding.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Welcome. Yeah.
yeah. So I forget. Well, I don't have load shedding at all Wednesday now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Well,
Lucky.
moved it because I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
So I, so yeah, sometimes I forget about them, and maybe
Mm.
when for a file or something and
Mm.
it has a similar name, it just pops up, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
let me go back to it, and then it's either I get in
Mm.
the zone or I just don't connect with it,
Mm.
leave it for like another day. But I have all these
Mm.
things that I hear because I'm always writing something.
Mm. And I like the fact that you've stuck to that formula that you had when you started Hlomu, where you tease us with these characters, and you also now I see that you also talking a little bit about your writing process, because I think there was a post that stuck in my head when you were saying you don't know if you are how to write this man soft at the same time. I don't know how you were defining it, but you were having some kind of crisis, right? In how you were to shape this character. And I love the honesty of that, because in as much as other authors are asking for workshops and stuff, it also shows Uguti, it is a process. It's not like even if you have the story, it's not like you just get there and you write and you feel
Yeah,
like the first draft is it. Sorry.
you have and be readable. So
Yes.
it's like, and I was talking about character development just now,
Mm,
when saying
mm,
if I decide that this man is going to be
mm,
um, this way, and it's different for me because I write about toxic men. So now I'm trying
mm,
to be a very good man who is just
mm,
a good
mm,
man. A lot of women find those boring. So,
mm,
but
mm,
be that man who is lovable and
mm.
struggled with him at first, and yeah, eventually I got him right.
Mm, mm.
And
I'm glad. I'm glad. And I can't wait to see what comes of those novellas, because I also think that as an author, you don't really want, especially if you do have like a vast talent, like you're not a Daniel. Okay, I'm not saying Daniel Steele is not, like, don't come for me. I'm not saying she's not talented, but you're not somebody who wants to keep writing the same story in different ways, right? So I feel like it's probably a defining moment for you as well, right? Because we know you for the Zulu Brothers. So if you come here and you tell us a different story, we're gonna look for the person that we knew. And I think that it is important if you're somebody who's got a well of stories to want to say, I can tell you different types of stories and I can tell them well, right? So we will be looking out for those. I'm just saying, okay. And we will rest assured and rest easy that we will be comparing. Unlike in Hlomu, this time Dudu we will be saying those things because this is how we know you. But that does not mean that we don't want other stories from you, if you get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, I'll give you other stories.
Okay, I'm just gonna wrap up the comments. Annalisa says, "Hi guys, I just joined, and can I just say the end left me with so many questions. It truly was beautiful to read about Mbande and how we go to truly know him and be inside his head. I loved it. I also loved with this book that you gave us insights into each and every one of the brothers, right? Because we know that in Hlomu we get a lot of Mkele, in Zandile we get a lot of Nkosana, in Naledi we get a lot of, I forgot his name now, Kawe. But there was never, I don't think, a book where we get perspective from each and every one of them. And you also included, forget the cousin's name, what's his name, the cousin that they fetched from, who was in jail and then now is part of, and he didn't do, he's the one, for me, I'm angry with him. He didn't do what the mother said he must do. What kind of Zulu man is that?
I'm so shocked by that. I was like, what have I done?
Hey, you caused the mess. That was the original mess.
They want a baby to be thrown in a fire.
Yes. Yes, Dudu, because we see the bigger picture. It's your fault that you made us see the bigger picture. So for the sake of the bigger picture, that baby should have gone in the fire. Hi, Bella. You can't create the monsters and then judge us for being the people. Because you said to us, this is the only way it's going to work. We believe you. So what is Mklaba doing? We don't understand. Why is he not following the script?
No.
Ayanda says, any regrets agreeing to the TV series?
I really I don't regret anything. Like that I've done in the past 10 years. So no.
The answer is no. Yeah.
It's I feel like I've always felt like this is going to be a start of something between TV and writers, and yeah, I feel like it's something that's going to be done going forward.
I love it. I love that. And sometimes there is a cost to being the person who breaks that kind of like barrier, right? And if you can see past yourself, then like you are saying, you can hardly regret anything because you know that you've started something. It's a wave that has begun that can't be taken back, you know? I like that is your perspective. Jane says the joy of the forgotten manuscript. Okay, you guys have, that is why we were asking you for my man's USB. That is the why, because we knew, yes, somewhere, somehow, the USB is there. And I don't want to mince my words. I've said it all over social media. Now I'll never forgive you from xoxo story. I will never. I don't care if that's the story you needed to tell. Don't care how many times you apologize to how many of us. There. I was close to saying, Yazin. Huh?
Never apologized for.
Yes, that's the thing. You feel nothing, and I've said this to you so many times, and you feel nothing. You're like, hey, that's the story. That I'm like, Njani, why him?
That story ended.
Bugamoso says our next crush is coming, a soft, loving, and kind man. Uyeza, lalela, and then Ududu's gonna go and break our hearts. Uyeza yena, yes. Then our hearts are gonna be broken. We trust that. Okay. You don't know. You're saying you're pleading the fifth. You're saying nothing.
Nothing.
So Bugamosa says we have now been converted to the bigger picture gang. way. So that's why the child had to go into the fire. Now, what must happen? Now, following the script, he's not following the script. These characters, and they actually do give us heart palpitations. Hey, the brothers especially, because you feel like, okay, I think I know what Kawe is gonna do now, and then he does the opposite of what you thought. But then at the same time, you like, yeah, Vele Kawe would have done the opposite. But while you are reading towards the opposite, you're like, he's gonna take the high road here. He's gonna make it work. Shem. As far as says, Vuvu, how can you forget Kawe's name? Bombastic side eye, forgotten. Bombastic side eye. Our final question, then, as I've already alluded to with you, is we love the session of Lit Author Lives because this is where we showcase the fact that our authors are also readers, right? So I asked you to come up with 3 books that are specific that I'd like you to recommend to us, the listeners, the fellow readers, everybody else who loves reading. And the first one is, what is the first book you remember that transformed your life in any way, whether it was ideology or that it fanned your passion to write or that it made you feel known and seen?
It's, you know what, there's a lot I started reading very young, but honestly what I was reading when I was that age had absolutely nothing to do with me or who I am. It was just the things I do not know and do not relate to. But I think I've said this before, that the book I read years ago, I was still like a junior journalist, maybe not, like maybe a mid senior or something, and I read Red Ink. I found Red Ink. I think it was in the newsroom or something. And it just felt so, I think also because I was in the,
I don't know where my copy is. I'm looking for my copy. I don't know where I put it.
So because it was about the female journalist who went to see a serial killer and all of that. Also that it was written by a Black woman in South Africa. It was, so it kind of, although I did not start writing immediately, it took me years for me to even, but at that time, I think the Black female writers we had were about, I don't think Nosy had come out yet. I don't think they had come out, had released a book yet at that time. So it was just a rare thing. It was not, especially somebody who could be your age, Of course, the way, the old Black African female writers were there. But I think for me, for something to be that real, I felt like that journalist, the protagonist, my age, she looked like me. She was.
And the story itself was very well written, right? I love the pace of it. I actually recently spoke to Angela Makola on my podcast about Red Ink, right? And I was saying to her, I could not put the book down. I read it over the December holidays a few years back. And I remember that whether I was eating my cereal, it was here, because I was like, what kind of darkness is this? What is going on here? And I'm not somebody who reads a lot of crime or thriller, right? So for me, like, just the journey was just so spectacular. And I'm saying you saw something you could identify with, but on top of that, I think it helps when the story is there. Like a good story hooks you. Yes, there's meat to the story. It's not just, oh, Vuvu wrote a book and you picked it up and you're like, oh, it's written by a Black person, at least. It's there's something there,
The story that I felt like I really, really related to. I think if I never read a book twice. I never,
Really?
but I don't at all. But I think that if I were to pick it up now, which I might, I think the experience will be different.
It will. It definitely will. Every time you pick up the book, it's different, hey? That's the thrill of rereading. That's the thrill of reading because you've changed, right? Your perspective on life has changed. So who you were when you first read it, you're somebody totally different now. So what you will pick up is not going to be the same things.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try to read one.
And it's fun. Like it's a 1 day read. It's a fun book.
Yeah.
You can finish it in 1 day. So so okay. The second book recommendation we'd like to get from you is, what is the first noteworthy book you read written by someone like you or someone who could have had the same experience or existence as you? And it can be male. It can be the same book, but if it's not, that's great.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same, but also, yeah, I chose this one because it was the first, but I've had a lot of books that have been like that. I've read like a lot of books. I realized in my reading those books that I like I like messed up characters, and I love writers who are very who don't like I loved Selo Dacre's
Okay.
thing. And it was such a, it was just like it was like you're being cut with razors when you read it. And I feel like I like writers who don't care, who like, yeah, I'm gonna harm you. I'm going to just
Break your hearts.
yeah, I'm not
That's
gonna
what
be,
you, yeah.
you're going to feel the pain, you're going to
Yeah.
traumatize. And yeah, I don't think I can actually choose one. But it's
Okay. I hear you. Okay, the very last recommendation that we ask for is the one book that you will recommend until your dying day.
dying day. That's a
Yes,
stretch.
that's a book that you like. I don't care. Everybody that I meet, they must read this book. This book did things to me. I need everyone to feel the things as well.
Okay, let's not say dying day. Let's just say for now, because I'm
Yes,
reading
okay. This is the book for now. Okay, that's fine.
books. I have a book that I got yesterday, and I'm reading other books, and I want to not say until my dying day, but
Okay.
I tell you the stuff that people find very annoying, like they don't like they like no, this character is frustrating. I think maybe I read from writer, but I loved Queenie, and people were
Okay.
so excited with
People
Queenie.
didn't like. I still haven't read it because of that. Hey, I haven't read it because I'm like, it's sitting on my shelf. I'm like, I can't read it because people don't like what. But okay.
No, they don't like the character because she's so messed up. But the
Okay.
book,
Okay.
because they read it to
It's
the
good.
finish, and they
Okay.
get
Yeah.
throughout the way.
Okay.
I
I hear
loved,
you.
I loved it, and I also loved. This is another book that people don't understand why I like some. There's a book called Dying in New York,
Okay. I've never heard of
and
it.
it's about Echo. It's no, it's by Echo. Echo. He's based here, but I think he's from.
Juka. Yeah. I know. Okay. It's called Dying in New York. Ikau
That,
Juka.
yeah, he wrote Yellow Bone as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think you know him. So he has that book, and that just do like they're like, well, much as they read it, but they're like, no, that book was just insane. So it's a
It can be your favorite book.
I was like, I actually loved it. I love the fact that it was insane. And it was like that. So it's that, but I'm not saying it's my until the day you die recommendation.
But it's one of those books that has stuck with you, though.
Yeah.
I
I'm
hear you.
reading
I hear
another
you.
one called um I've just finished Junks. I don't know if it's that's how
Yeah, okay, I've heard about
yeah.
it. I haven't
So
read it. Yes.
it's also one of those books, ne, that sound like they
Okay.
about
To get
insane.
messy. Okay.
That like and this one is like I think it's from Alex and Tembisa, and it's just like Kara, the character. So really loving that, and I've got
Okay.
this new.
Okay. All right. That's actually quite great recommendations, and I love that they're all from Black authors. as far as I can tell from the list that you. Sorry.
I don't. Yeah, I don't have like specifics. I don't.
Yeah. No, neither do I. But I love the fact that without you going out to choose Black written authors, that the books that have stuck with you are by Black authors. That for me, that is saying something, especially the ones that are South African. It's saying something about us and how we're coming to enjoy our own stories as well. Bokam also read Queenie. She's stressed, but she also loved her in the end. I don't know, guys. Like, you guys are not giving me much to work on, but
I'm saying read Queenie. You're going to do a very angry review.
Oh, that's what you want to. That's the entertainment you are looking for.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Dudu. I know I've been asking you to sit down with me for years, but
no,
I go through my own process as well. I'm like, am I ready? Yeah, okay. But I absolutely love this. Thank you so much for the warmth, for you being so generous with what you do and being so open to chat about your craft. Truly, truly, truly did appreciate that. And we loved it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.